You've probably heard the saying, you are the average of the people you spend the most time with. But what if I told you that the people around you are not just influencing you, they are shaping the direction of your entire life? Think about it for a moment. Every conversation you have, every opinion you hear, every piece of advice you absorb, they're all quietly rewiring the way you see the world. The right person can unlock a level of thinking you didn't even know existed. The wrong one can keep you trapped in a mental cage you will never escape unless you wake up and take control. Bob Proctor once said, if you want to be successful, you must surround yourself with people who think the way you want to think, act the way you want to act, and live the way you want to live. This isn't a motivational slogan. It's a fundamental truth about human growth. The vibration of the people in your life will either pull you upward or keep you stuck exactly where you are. Here's the uncomfortable part. Sometimes the people we have known the longest, friends, co-workers, even family, can be the ones unknowingly holding us back. And if you want to evolve, if you truly want to attract opportunities and experiences that match your potential, you have to learn to choose your associations as carefully as you choose the food you eat or the air you breathe. Why? Because your mind works like a magnet. It's constantly drawing in energy that matches the frequency you're operating on. Bob Proctor explained that you cannot be in harmony with something unless you're on the same frequency. This means that the quality of your relationships is not an accident. It's a mirror of your own internal state. So if you keep attracting people who drain you, doubt you, or dismiss your dreams, it's not just bad luck. It's a reflection of the frequency you've been sending out. And that's the first shift you must make. Stop asking, why am I meeting the wrong people? And start asking, what am I radiating that is inviting them in? Picture this. Your life is like a radio station. If you're tuned to 88.5 FM, you're not going to hear what's on 101.2 FM, no matter how much you want to. If you want to attract people who inspire you, challenge you, and help you grow, you have to raise your own broadcast. You have to change your inner station. Bob often reminded us, your outside world is a reflection of your inside world. This means the people you meet, the opportunities you get, even the challenges you face, they're all a direct expression of your current level of awareness. When you elevate your awareness, you elevate the kind of people who are drawn to you. But here's the trap. Most people try to change their circle without changing themselves first. They think, if I can just meet the right mentor, the right partner, the right friend, everything will fall into place. But the truth is, you can't keep the right people in your life if you're still operating from the wrong mindset. Even if they appear for a moment, they won't stay because your vibration won't match theirs. So how do you raise your frequency to naturally attract the right people? It starts with clarity. You need to be painfully honest about the kind of person you want to become and the kind of people you want around you. This isn't about writing a vague wish list, like positive, successful, kind. You need to define what those words mean to you and, more importantly, embody them yourself. If you want people who are disciplined, be disciplined. If you want people who are ambitious, show ambition. If you want people who value growth, demonstrate growth in your own life. Bob Proctor was crystal clear about this. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. This is why changing your identity is more important than chasing new contacts. Your identity is the magnet. Your energy is the invitation. And this is where most people hesitate, because becoming the kind of person who attracts the right relationships often means letting go of the comfort of the wrong ones. It means stepping away from the familiar jokes, the shared complaints, the predictable routines that you've built with people who might not be going where you want to go. That can feel lonely, it can feel uncomfortable. But here's the truth, and it's one of Bob's most powerful teachings. The only limits in our life are those we impose on ourselves. And sometimes, the limits we accept are hidden inside the people we allow into our daily conversation. Let me ask you a question. If every single person in your life disappeared tomorrow, and you could rebuild your circle from scratch, who would you choose to let in? And why? The way you answer that question will tell you exactly what you value and whether or not your current reality matches that value. Now, here's the paradox. You don't have to find the right people by going out and searching for them in every corner of the world. You attract them by becoming impossible to. When you commit to living at your highest standard, you naturally draw in those operating at the same level. You become magnetic. Think about how Bob lived. He didn't beg for the right people to notice him. He became the kind of person they couldn't help but know. He raised his awareness. He embodied his philosophy. And the right people gravitated toward him because they recognized something in him they wanted in themselves. If you take one thing from this first part of our journey, let it be this. Stop chasing people and start cultivating the energy that will make the right people chase you. And if that sounds too simple, It's because you've been conditioned to believe relationships are about finding, convincing, or keeping people. They're not. They're about alignment. And alignment starts with you. Here's a truth that most people avoid. Not everyone who smiles at you is good for you, and not everyone who challenges you is against you. One of the most important skills you can develop is the ability to evaluate the impact someone has on your growth without letting emotion, history, or guilt blur your judgment. Bob Proctor understood this well when he said, if you want to improve your results, you must change the way you think, and sometimes that means changing who you listen to. So, how do you know if someone is helping you evolve or holding you back? You start by paying attention to how you feel after you interact with them. Energy is contagious. If you leave a conversation feeling drained, doubtful, or stuck in the same old patterns, that's not a coincidence. That's a signal. On the other hand, when you're around the right people, something inside you expands. You feel more capable, more alive, more willing to act on your ideas. These people don't just encourage you, they challenge you in ways that make you stronger. Bob often taught that your paradigm, your mental programming is shaped by repetition and exposure. This means the more time you spend with someone, the more you start thinking like them, whether you realize it or not. So the question becomes, are the people closest to you expanding your paradigm or reinforcing a version of you that you've outgrown? Let's make this practical. Take a mental inventory of the 5 people you interact with most. For each one, ask yourself, do they talk about possibilities or problems? Do they inspire action or justify inaction? Do they celebrate growth or feel threatened by it? The answers will tell you more than their words ever could. Here's the tricky part. Some of the people you discover aren't helping you evolve might not be negative in the obvious sense. They might care about you deeply. They might want to protect you. But protection often comes disguised as limitation. A friend who constantly warns you not to take risks may not be malicious, but they are still reinforcing fear instead of courage. Bob Proctor used to say, most people are extras in their own movie, living by someone else's script. If you keep surrounding yourself with people who don't challenge the script you've been handed, you'll keep playing the same role forever, even if that role is far smaller than you he capable. This doesn't mean you should cut people out impulsively or without compassion. It means you start consciously choosing who gets the privilege of influencing your mindset. And yes, influence is a privilege. Think about your mind as a garden. Every interaction is either a seed or a weed. The right people plant seeds that grow into opportunities, ideas, and confidence. The wrong people, even unintentionally, plant weeds that choke those possibilities. And here's the thing. If you don't actively remove the weeds, they will take over. Bob's philosophy teaches that awareness is the first step to change. Once you see how a relationship is affecting you, you can decide what to do about it. Sometimes that means spending less time with certain people. Other times, it means setting new boundaries for the type of conversations you're willing to have. For example, if someone constantly brings up negativity or gossip, you can redirect the conversation to something constructive or choose to disengage from it entirely. You're not being rude. You're protecting your mental frequency. And protecting your frequency is not selfish. It's essential. Because here's what happens. When you start protecting your energy, you create space for the right people to enter. And when those people arrive, they won't need you to shrink so they can feel comfortable. They'll meet you where you are, or better yet, they'll pull you higher. But you can't expect this shift to happen. Bob reminded us that the law of attraction works in harmony with the law of vibration. You can't attract high-frequency people if you keep resonating with low-frequency patterns out of habit or fear of change. And this is where self-image becomes crucial. The people you attract are a direct match to the image you hold of yourself. If your self-image is weak, you'll tolerate relationships that reflect that weakness. If your self-image is strong, you'll naturally gravitate toward and be noticed by people who share that strength. That's why one of the fastest ways to change your circle is to change your self-concept. Start acting, thinking, speaking as if you already are the version of yourself you're becoming. Bob would say, act like the person you want to become, and soon you will become that person. Let's imagine 2 scenarios. In the first, you spend most of your time with people who complain about money, criticize those who succeed, and see problems in every opportunity. No matter how hard you try to stay positive, that energy will pull you back into old patterns. In the second scenario, you're surrounded by people who talk about solutions, share ideas, and encourage bold moves. Even if you enter the room feeling uncertain, their energy will lift you higher. Your life will start to reflect whichever group you spend more time with. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's alignment. Now, here's a challenge for you before we move on. This week, Choose one person in your life who consistently inspires. Spend more intentional time with them. Even if it's just a deeper conversation, a call, or a shared activity, notice how your thinking shifts after that interaction. Then compare it to how you feel after spending time with someone who leaves you drained. Once you see the difference clearly, you won't be able to unsee it. And that's a powerful place to be, because awareness forces. If your life is a mirror, then your relationships are the reflection. You can't change the reflection without changing the source. And the source is you. Bob Proctor was very clear about this. Your results are a direct reflection of your own level of awareness. The people you draw into your life, whether they lift you higher or weigh you down, are matching the energy you're putting out into the world. So if you want to attract the right people, you have to become the right person. Raising your personal frequency isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about stripping away the habits, thoughts, and beliefs that keep you operating below your potential. It's about aligning your self-image with the life you actually want to live. The first step in this process is clarity. You cannot raise your vibration if you have no idea what you're aiming for. And yet, most people walk through life reacting to whatever comes their way, never deciding what kind of energy they actually want to radiate. If you don't decide, the world decides for you, and the results are rarely inspiring. So take a moment to define the version of yourself you want to embody. How do they think? How do they speak? How do they treat people? What are their standards for relationships, work, and personal growth? Write it down, get specific. Because once you know who you're becoming, you can start living as that person now. Bob used to say, act like the person you want to become, and you will become that person. This isn't about faking it. It's about programming your subconscious mind to believe in your new identity. When your subconscious accepts this identity as truth, your actions and energy naturally align with it, and so do the people who are drawn to you. But here's where many people sabotage themselves. They try to raise their frequency while still holding on to low-frequency habits. They meditate in the morning, then gossip in the afternoon. They visualize abundance, then complain about money. They talk about wanting inspiring relationships, but keep entertaining drama and negativity. You can't vibrate at two frequencies at once. Your dominant energy will always win, and that's what others will feel when they're around you. The right people are drawn to consistency. If your energy is all over the place, they won't stick around, because instability repels alignment. So you have to get ruthless about what you allow into your mind. Bob Proctor taught that the mind is like a garden. You must guard it from the weeds. Weeds can be toxic news, small-minded conversations, or even your own negative self. If you wouldn't plant it in your garden, don't let it take root in your mind. Another way to raise your vibration is through gratitude, but not the surface level kind where you list things because you feel you should. Real gratitude is a shift in perspective. It's choosing to focus on what's working, what's possible, and what's worth building on, even when challenges show up. Why does gratitude matter for attracting the right people? Because it puts you on a frequency of abundance. People who operate from scarcity are always looking for what's missing, and they tend to attract others who see the world the same way. But when you live in genuine gratitude, you naturally attract those who also focus on possibilities rather than limitation. Now, let's talk about self-respect. You can't expect others to value you more than you value yourself. If you tolerate disrespect, broken promises, or constant negativity, you're sending out a signal that says, this is okay with me. And the people who match that signal will keep showing up. Raising your frequency often means raising your standards. And when you raise your standards, two things happen. The wrong people will fall away. The right people will start appearing. This is why the process can feel lonely at first. You might go through a season where the old circle doesn't fit anymore, but the new one hasn't fully formed. Bob called this the transition period, and it's where most people give up because they mistake the space for loss instead of preparation. If you can trust the process and keep living in alignment with the person you're becoming, that space will soon be filled with people who match your new vibration. You won't have to chase them. They'll find you. There's another layer here that Bob emphasized, the law of compensation. This law states that you will be rewarded in direct proportion to the value you provide. This applies to relationships, if you want to attract people who are generous with their energy, their ideas, and their support, you must be willing to give those same things without keeping score. But here's the subtle difference. Giving from a place of overflow is attractive. Giving from a place of neediness is repelling. If your kindness comes with hidden expectation, people will feel that. That's why raising your frequency is about filling yourself first so that what you give is authentic and without strings attached. And we can't ignore one of the most magnetic traits you can develop, authenticity. Bob Proctor lived his teaching, and that's why people trusted him. He didn't pretend to be perfect. He embodied his philosophy in a way that felt real. The right people are drawn to truth. If you hide who you are to fit in, you might attract a company, but it won't be the kind that helps you grow. So the formula is simple, but not easy. Define who you want to become. Live as that person now. Remove habits and influences that lower your frequency. Practice real gratitude. Raise your standards. Give from overflow. Stay authentic. When you do this consistently, you'll notice something interesting. You'll stop worrying about finding the right people. You'll be too focused on becoming the right person yourself. And in that process, the right people will start appearing like clockwork. Attracting the right people is a powerful step, but it's only the beginning. The real challenge comes after the he in your life. How do you sustain that connection? So it becomes a source of mutual evolution instead of something that fades over time. Bob Proctor often reminded us, everything in life is either growing or dying. There's no in between. Relationships are no different. If you're not consciously growing together, you're unconsciously drifting apart. One of the first keys to sustaining a high-frequency relationship is alignment of values. People can differ in personality, background, and even life goals. But if the core values don't align, the connection will eventually feel strained. Values are the foundation that keep you moving in the same direction when challenges show up. Think about it this way. If you and someone else are walking separate paths but at the same speed, you might be side by side for a while. But eventually, the distance between your paths will widen until you can't see each other anymore. Shared values keep your paths close enough for growth to happen together. That means you have to be intentional about conversations. High-frequency relationships aren't maintained by accident. They're nurtured by communication that's open, honest, and rooted in respect. And this is where Bob's teachings on clarity become essential. If you don't express what you want, what you need, and what you're aiming for, the other person can't align with you, no matter how much they care. But alignment doesn't mean agreement on every detail. In fact, some of the best growth happens when the right people challenge your thinking. The difference is that they challenge you to expand, not shrink. They ask questions that make you think bigger, not doubt yourself. To keep these kinds of people in your life, you have to be willing to receive feedback without ego. Bob used to say, your results will change when you open your mind to new ideas. If your instinct is to defend yourself every time someone offers constructive criticism, you close the door on evolution and high frequency. People won't stay in an environment that resists growth. The second key to sustaining these relationships is reciprocity. Energy has to flow both ways. This doesn't mean keeping a strict ledger of who does what, but it does mean being aware of balance. If you're always taking but rarely giving, the connection will weaken. Likewise, if you're always giving without ever receiving, you'll eventually burn out. Bob's law of compensation applies here. The more value you provide, the more value you attract. In relationships, that value can be emotional support, encouragement, sharing resources, or simply being fully present when someone needs you. And presence is a big one. In a world full of distractions, giving someone your full attention is rare and incredibly magnetic. When you're with the right people, put the phone away, listen with intention, and make them feel seen. This deepens trust, and trust is the glue that holds a high-frequency relationship together. Another aspect is shared growth. Relationships thrive when you're learning and evolving together. This might mean reading the same book, discussing it, attending events, sharing new ideas, or setting joint goals. Bob was a master of this. He surrounded himself with people who were as committed to learning as he was, and that created an environment where growth was the norm. Here's something people don't talk about enough. Sometimes, even the right relationships can drift if there's no shared momentum. You might still like and respect each other, but if one person is growing rapidly and the other is stagnant, the connection can start to feel unbalanced. The solution isn't to force them to change, but to keep your own momentum and invite them to rise with. And then there's the role of gratitude in sustaining these connections. Just as gratitude raises your personal frequency, it also strengthens relationships. Expressing genuine appreciation for the people in your life makes them feel valued, and it reminds you of the gift they are. Don't wait for big moments to say it. Appreciation is most powerful when it's consistent and unexpected. Bob also taught about the importance of environment. The environment you share with someone will influence the health of your connection. If your shared time is always spent in stressful, negative, or distracting environments, it's harder to maintain high-frequency energy, create spaces, physical and emotional, where inspiration flows naturally. One more truth that sustains high-quality relationships. Never stop being the person who attracted them in the first place. When people find you at a certain vibration, they're drawn to that energy. If you stop doing the inner work, let your standards slip or fall back into old patterns. You'll notice those people slowly step back. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you stay committed to your own growth, even when it's uncomfortable. High frequency people don't expect you to never stumble. They expect you to keep getting back up. Now, let's address a reality. Even with all this effort, not every relationship will last forever. And that's okay. Bob's perspective was that some people are in your life for a reason, some for a season, and some for a lifetime. If you've grown apart from someone who once inspired you, it doesn't mean the relationship failed. It means it fulfilled its purpose. The key is to let go without resentment. When you release someone with gratitude instead of bitterness, you keep your frequency high, and that ensures you'll continue attracting people who match your current level of awareness. To summarize, sustaining the right people in your life comes down to aligning values and keeping paths clear, communicating openly and without ego, maintaining balance through reciprocity, staying present and making people feel seen, growing together intentionally, practicing consistent gratitude, keeping your vibration high through ongoing letting go gracefully when paths diverge. When you step back and look at everything we've explored, it becomes clear attracting the right people isn't just about luck, coincidence, or chance meetings. It's about alignment. It's about who you are, what you believe, and the energy you broadcast to the world every single day. Bob Proctor's teachings make this simple but undeniable. Your outside world is a reflection of your inside world. If you want to change the people in your life, you must first change the person you see in the mirror. In the beginning, we talked about awareness, realizing that every person around you is influencing your thoughts, your habits, and your results. Some lift you higher, others hold you back, and you always have the power to choose which influence you allow. Then we dove into the power of evaluation, paying attention to how you feel after being with someone and identifying whether they expand or contract your potential. This is where you learn to protect your mental frequency, like your life depends on it, because it does. From there, we explored the inner work, raising your own vibration so you don't just meet the right people by chance, but naturally attract them, keep them. We broke down habits like real gratitude, self-respect, and authenticity, because these are the traits that high-frequency people can sense immediately. We also talked about sustainability, the art of growing together, maintaining alignment, and keeping the connection alive through intentional communication, reciprocity, and shared evolution. This is how you make sure the right people aren't just a passing chapter in your story, but become key characters in your ongoing journey. And now, it's time for the truth that ties it all together. The most powerful way to attract the right people is to become a living example of the person you wish to be. When you live in alignment with your highest values, when you embody the energy you want to receive, you become magnetic. People who share your frequency will find you not because you're chasing them, but because you're impossible to miss. Bob Proctor didn't just teach that, he lived it. He became the kind of person whose very presence inspired growth, and that's why his life was filled with people who were just as committed to evolution. That's the opportunity you have in front of you, to be that person for someone else. Imagine your life a year from now if you started today. If you raised your standards, clarified your vision, and surrounded yourself with people who push you to think bigger, dream bolder, and act faster. How much could you grow? How much could you achieve? Now, here's the part. Most people underestimate. Your transformation doesn't just affect you. When you raise your vibration and attract the right people, you create a ripple effect. Your friends, your family, your community, they all feel the shift. You become the spark that lights others up, the example that proves change is possible. That's why this work matters so much. You're not just building a better life for yourself, you're setting a standard that gives permission for others to rise. So here's your challenge moving forward. Decide who you want to be and live as that person starting now. Evaluate every relationship through the lens of growth. Protect your energy like the rare and valuable asset it is. Invest in the connections that feed your let go of what no longer serves your highest self. Do this and your circle will transform. Not overnight, but inevitably the right people will come. The wrong ones will fade. And your life will begin to reflect the greatness you've always carried inside you. Now, if you've made it this far, it means you care about growth. You care about your mind, your energy, and your future. And that's exactly the kind of mindset we nurture here. So if you want to keep diving deeper into Bob Proctor's principles, learning how to reprogram your mind, and building a life that inspires others, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new video, because each one is designed to raise your frequency, sharpen your awareness, and keep you surrounded by the right people. This journey doesn't end here. In fact, it's just beginning. You have the power to shape your world. One thought, one action, and one relationship at a time. Surround yourself with the right energy, and there's no limit to where you can go.